Brazil's worst ever environmental disaster.
Air pollution is a huge health issue.
A luta contra o aquecimento global é uma das prioridades
for reducing emissions.
Thick smoke billowed above Brazil's Amazon
Is
jungle.
on top of the impacts of climate
It's a vital
change.
defense against climate change.
Pollution from burning fossil fuels.
Bom dia a todos. Eu sou a Patrícia.
Good morning to you all. I am Patricia Scioli from Scania in Latin America. Welcome to Sustainable Talks. We are starting the second day of a marathon of meetings that will go until Friday, the 3rd. Now, the format is 100% digital. We are following all the protocols to make a safe event. We are live through Scania Brazil, Argentina, and Mexico's YouTube channels. Since Sustainable Talks has the participation of Scania throughout Latin America, and today is going to be really a tour throughout Latin America, we have international guests. We have simultaneous translation in Portuguese, English, and Spanish. We really want to have your interaction at this event. You know our events, so send your questions and comments through the chat here on the right side of YouTube, okay? Okay, so let's start our second day of Sustainable Talks. But before that, we're going to look at our opening. When we started the 3rd edition of Sustainable Talks went up of Sweden, that Elena, which is the co-author of the book Sustainable Leaderships, and she explained step by step how a company can create a strategy of sustainability, of impact, with base in the successful Sweden formula. And we got the message that we cannot just start with exponential problems and just with incremental solutions. We also received here the Executive Secretary of Global Pact in Brazil, Carlo Pereira, who was in the COP26 and spoke about the main accomplishments of this event. They're so important for our future. And he highlighted that Brazil is the second largest source of emissions of greenhouse gases that come from methane, and especially from agriculture, and that the country has good examples of actions in the government and companies that are compromised with climate agenda. And we're very optimistic. And we ended up the panel with a lot of exchange and inspiration with the CEOs from Scania Latin America, Siemens Energy, and Congas. They spoke about how they are working with partnerships and concrete actions to reach the goals of the Paris Agreement. Christopher Podolsky, Ander Clark, and Antonio Simon showed how CEOs have acted in an agenda that goes beyond their sectors and which reinforces everyone's commitment to a more sustainable future. We talked about biomethane, a renewable natural gas, and this is Scania's bet as an alternative fuel to diesel. But while production does not gain scale, natural gas has been an important solution for the moment of transition, as pointed out by Congas. Green hydrogen can be an alternative and can be another alternative in the energy grid. That was Siemens Energy bet. If you have lost this panel, we have all recorded at YouTube, at our YouTube channel. And we don't have a silver bullet here. The future is very eclectic for sustainable mobility. And it will be like that. Today, we're going to talk about an essential theme in sustainability. What do we have for today? My partner, Juliana Sá, my fellow friend. Good morning. Good morning, Patricia. Good morning to you all, to all of you that are watching our event. We are very happy to have you here. Today, I want to start telling you by who is going to be here with us. We're going to have people from 5 different countries because it's an international event, right? Yes, super. We're going to go all over Latin America. They will talk about how digitalization is a powerful tool to accelerate a more sustainable future. So we're going to start with Sweden, Emily Olander from Ericsson. Then we're going to talk to Rafael Sion from PepsiCo from Brazil. Then we go to Argentina to talk to Ignacio Uranga from Smart Vision. He's the CEO from Smart Vision. And then Juan Carlos Snack from Hosek from Peru, and closing the day straight from Colombia, Guilherme Santos. So you saw, Patricia, a lot of countries today. Yes, this is going to be a show. It's going to be really good. So to start, I want to know if you know how we start live here at Scania, and it's time to know your opinion. So get your cell phones and point to the QR code we have in the screen. And my question for you today is, with the pandemic, which new digital habit became part of your routine? Online shopping, online exercises like go gym, distance education courses, services, the famous Pixel. And have you watched any series streaming services through Netflix, Amazon, and others? And who doesn't like music? Have you followed your favorite artists online? Or if you have done all of these, all of the above, and something different and something connected to digitalization, can you write for us? Can you comment? Because we're going to put it on the air here. So point your cell phone camera to the screen at the QR code. And our team is also putting the link in the chat so we can have your participation. And in a while, we'll check the results. Okay, Pachi, I will tell you that during this pandemic, I discovered the wonders of training at home. You wake up, you put the clothes any clothes you want, and you start doing it. Have you done anything different? I have done some things different, but I have done my exercises this morning before the event. We have forgotten to put one item. To watch the lives from Scania. I have been making them and watching them. So we're curious to know, what have you done differently in your routine? What have you brought to your routine from the digital world? And then we're going to check the results in a while, okay? Yes, we're very curious to know what you're going to choose. All of these to warm up for our panel today. Over the past decade, digital transformation has become the focus from 10 out of 10 CEOs. And we're not talking about defining a strategy that just replaces manual processes. With digitization and all the innovation it brings, the possibilities have become endless. And a new way for companies to generate value and for their leaders to shape the business has emerged. But it was during the COVID-19 pandemic that this agenda became even more evident and connected to the other, the climate urgency. In this case, the importance of digitization for a more inclusive and sustainable world go hand in hand. So we have a potent tool, powerful tool, capable of helping to greatly reduce the emission of greenhouse gases. According to the global president of Ericsson, a Swedish company and one of the world leading providers of information and communication technology, sustainability is not just at the center. He is pushing business at the front floor of business. And now we're going to change to English because we're going to receive a guest today and at our second day of our event. She is the program manager of climate action in Ericsson, and was at COP26 representing the company. Please, everyone, welcome Emma.
Are you with us?
Yes, I'm hearing you. Thank you for having me. You hear me?
Great. Yes, I hear you perfectly.
Perfectly, exactly.
Good morning from Brazil.
Yes, and good afternoon from Sweden.
Great. We're very happy to have you here representing our Swedes friends and also Ericsson. But let's start because our audience is very, very interested in learning more about how ICT, the technology sector, can help us in this big challenge of climate change. So our first question to you is how ICT contribution can contribute to the journey to halve greenhouse emissions. So how can digitalization and the sector of technology communication help us to deal with this challenge?
Thank you so much. A really great question. I think to get the basis of a lot of misconception we have out here is that digitalization are a big emitter of greenhouse gas, which is not really true. So we stand for around 1.4% of the global greenhouse gas emissions, and it's been quite steady here for the last 4 or 5 years. We use this around the whole sector 3.6% of the global electricity. And even though the data is exponentially actually increasing, you know why, we're using digital technologies all around, it hasn't increased in emission because we are great at energy efficiencies within the sector. We are reducing our emissions by being better at our technologies and what we put on the market. But we are also buying more and more green electricity, and also now starting to look into more expanding this for green energy solution as well. So our ICT sector, we are doing what we can to reduce our own emissions, but the most interesting is what we can do for other sectors. And here we have Ericsson research that already in 2015 showed that we have a potential of reducing 15% of global greenhouse gas emissions through the legacy ICT portfolio that we had then in 2015. And this has been showcased all around the world in different case studies. I think you will hear a lot today in your sustainability talks with great companies coming on after me. But what we have seen after that is that we have actually, with 5G and AI, we can actually do more. So we believe that digitalization is the enabler that can actually help us speed up the development, because we need to halve emission by 2030. And we are talking about hard to abate sector. Transportation is one of them. Scania is doing a lot in this field, but we need the help of digitalization to make this happen. And we can do that. And this 15%, it's not only in the transportation sector, it's going across all the industries. So we have agriculture, we have building, we have smart grids. It's just expandable. And I think we can accelerate this more with new technologies like 5G and AI.
Great, great, Emily. And by the way, since we're talking about this targets and commitment during our Sustainable Talks week, what are Ericsson's targets and commitment to contribute with the Paris Agreement?
Yeah, there are quite a lot, I would tell you. Yeah, so already in 2015, when the Paris Agreement was started, Ericsson was a supporter for the 1.5 degree ambition. So even though the Paris Agreement said that we should limit global warming to 2 degrees, we said that we need to do more. We need to, because we know that the tipping elements of the Earth system, they are fragile, and we don't know 1.5 degree or 2 degrees what will happen. We see more and more from science that we need to accelerate the change. So already then Ericsson said we need to do something. So we have a science-based target, firstly, where we have a 2016 year baseline, and they got approved as the 1.5 degree trajectory from the Science-Based Target Initiative. I don't know if you know that, but it's a third-party verificator that can actually tell you that your targets are in line with science. And Ericsson committed to reduce 35% of our own activities reduction by 2022. So from 2016 to 2022. And we already last year achieve that target. So now we're just maintaining it. Of course, we had a lot of reduction in business travel that made us possible to reach this, but it was also through procurement of more green electricity that we can actually overachieve our science-based target for that. We also have science-based target for our products, where we look into reducing 35% in our Ericsson radio systems by 2022, and it's this 2016 baseline as well. And here we are already at 34%. So that is our own close operation. But we also working through the whole value chain. So we are working with our suppliers. We have a sourcing supplier engagement target where we look into 350 of our high emitting and strategic suppliers to reduce their operational emissions by 50% by 2030. So we are helping them setting target by pushing them to do that. And we also then work with our customers to help them reduce their emissions with our products, but also helping them in setting the right targets. So we are all in this together. Yeah.
That's interesting. So we are approaching scope 1 and 2 with a winner already, since you have conquered the targets. And then also you're approaching scope 3, where you are reaching out to your suppliers and customers. That's very interesting. And then I was listening to Ericsson's global CEO doing the COP26, and I thought it was interesting. He commented that nowadays, when you go to a meeting with customers and so on, directly, sustainability is the first approach. They want to know how Ericsson and the technology can support them on reaching out their own targets. So based on that, could you comment something specifically that you have been doing with customers and operators in this journey for the zero carbon?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think it was great to have our CEO, Börje Ekholm, at the COP, even though digitally, as I am here today. I think it was amazing to have him, and he said many good things. So just starting by here, just, the GSMA have created this framework for the mobile operators that I think it's probably one of the sectors in the world that do mostly in terms of setting science-based target and net zero commitment. So I think they have 1/3 by revenue, or I think it's actually 2/3 by revenue, sorry, of the mobile operators that have set net zero commitment, and I think it's 1/3 then has set science-based targets, so we know that they are reducing the emissions. So they have already reached this UN breakthrough, as they call it. I don't know if you know the UN Race to Zero ambition. So they wanted 20% of all the sectors to set science-based target and net zero commitment. So you get this amplification of the target. So I think that is just worth mentioning. But then we have also within the ITU is the International Telecommunication Union. Ericsson have been a part of doing the net zero standard. So we know that our industry are following the right reduction trajectory, but also setting right net zero targets. So it's based on science. So for specifically with the customers, we have a lot of different initiatives. We have a lot of different SDG partnership where we're actually using our technologies to make an impact, if it's in cities, rural areas, or in different sectors. But I think one specifically here, when we talk about the climate challenge, is that we need to break the energy curve for our customers. Because if you look at the footprint of Ericsson then as a provider of products for our customers, the biggest impact is, as you said, in the scope 3, and it's actually products in use. So we can work with addressing energy efficiency of our products, but ultimately it's how our customers are using it in the networks that will make a biggest effect. So we help with breaking the energy curve, and that is a holistic approach. So we're looking into how you can modernize the network good, how you can prepare the network for 5G, and how you're also using a solution like AI to actually be a predictive of how the energy or the failure of the network. So you don't have to go out to the network side and make changes after a network broke down. You can actually predict that. So you're creating this holistically framework and work of how we can support our customers in this. Because if they would add 5G as they've done in previously generations without modernizing the network at the meantime, you will actually get an increase in energy consumption, and it will be a huge cost for them. So it's also, in this case, it's not only a climate benefit, it's also a cost benefit for our customers.
That's great. That's great. And in speaking of SDGs and how we can impact not only profit, but also the development goals, I would like to hear from you, from the experience that you have been having with Ericsson's work and initiatives, how we are addressing SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, with telecommunications and technology in ICT tech sector?
Yeah, we're doing quite a lot in that actually. So we have the two most important SDGs that we see it is SDG 9 for the industry and then SDG 17, so partnership for the goals, because we are a business to business company. We need our customers to actually create this ecosystem, so you create the solution for the world, right? So we have within our Ericsson, we work in actually all the SDGs. So we have example from, you know, SDG 1, reducing poverty, SDG 13 that we talked about a lot today. And I think one of them who is quite interesting is that what you don't think about, we are trying to use the technology to address the SDGs. So for example, we have a connected mangroves project. So instead of just planting trees, as many companies do, and you try to offsetting the emissions within your climate strategy, we actually said, can our technology help something that our employees want to do? And our employees in the Southeast Asia, so both Malaysia and Philippines, wanted to plant mangrove forests that are a huge benefit for the biodiversity, you know, both land, you know, the SDG land above water and below as well. So increasing biodiversity, we actually managed through IoT platforms and sensors increase the survival rates of mangrove saplings when we planted them. So before, around, I think 50% around the saplings died because you had you know, too high saltwater intrusion at the time where they have been planted, so they died, or some other factors. But by providing sensors, we could actually monitor the right circumstances where the local community could come and plant the saplings. So I think we increased the survival rate by 80%. Just 80, by having 80%, yes, 80.
That's amazing. So
yeah.
Beautiful initiative. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
No, and it's I think we have received several awards during the year, and it's projects that are just expanding on the market as well, just because we see employee engagement, but also the real effect of it and how technology can support. Then I think we are planted in one area was just on 2,000 trees, and it's amazing to see the before and after picture. So you decrease the erosion rate, but you also have seen birds who haven't been there for so many years come back. And of course, it's hard to know the baseline, but you know, getting those reports from the national authorities, and because of the project, the national authorities have also said that, oh, but this area, it should be protected. Mm-hmm. So, you know, by having the project, you have actually increased the protection. Yeah.
Yes, that's great.
Totally.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
Then,
that's how we were approaching sustainable talks here. It's about the impact. It's not about the perception that our companies have, but the impact they have in the society. Great. And hooking on the engagement of the employees and the social approach that you brought, I think it's very important when we talk about digitalization, talk about inclusion, because no one can be left behind on this transformation that we talk so much about it. Is there any initiative that you think it's nice to share with us?
Yeah, we have several here as well. I think just for your knowledge, who doesn't know about Ericsson, is that we have 3 strategic pillars. We are corporate responsibility, or we can say responsible business, maybe a bit easier to understand. We have environmental sustainability, where I work with climate action, energy, for example, but then we have digital inclusion. So what can we do to, as you said, bridge the digital divide? And I think the COVID-19 pandemic has shown how divided we are. And even in countries where you didn't think that we had a deviation, we actually have seen it. And it's about equality. You know, we have SDG about it. We need to do something. So we are working with this fiercely, and we have one of our project, it's called Connect to Learn, where we're connecting schools. We are connecting learning through digitalization and increasing the knowledge about ICT solutions worldwide. We are focusing on both girls in ICT sector, but also wider. So here we have partnered up with UNICEF in their Giga project to actually map global connectivity at school. And I think it's around 35 countries we do that. And by getting this mapping, we can understand what is then needed to bridge the digital divide. What can we do more? So it's a great project, and as you know, UNICEF is a world recognized
Yes.
organization that you want to
Yes.
partner with, and this is the first step. And for Ericsson to be a part of that, we are really happy, and we can do so much more. And I think we are also, even though you don't think about it, to bridge the digital divide, we also need to get politicians to understand that sometimes digitalization need to be an infrastructure investment. Actually, in many countries now, you have to pay for it. Operator has to pay for it to be able to get a spectrum to provide solutions for the society. But as we saw now in the COVID-19 situation, is that it is a critical infrastructure. So maybe governments also need to take that into consideration when they're thinking about their policies. And as I talked today, digitalization can do so much for also climate action. So maybe it's something that we need to think about when we are doing our strategies. It's something that goes into all sectors in society, and we can bridge so many, or we can affect so many possibilities and problems we have today with digitalization. So we of course work with that as well, both in Europe and worldwide, to get this
What
going.
an inspiration, Emily. What an inspiration. That's a good way to go. ICT has this impact and it is spreading out and reaching out. I think Ericsson has a decisive role on that. And since you have been in also during COP26, I'd like to ask you, what are your insights? What are your takeaways from the conference that we just had maybe 2-3 weeks ago?
Yeah, I think the takeaway is that when you're there, you see so much action. We see people who want to do action. Then, of course, it's about the impact. I don't know how many % of the total world population was there. It was probably not that much. So, but when you are there, you're feeling the action. We had in the blue zone, in the, I would say, the zone where you are close to the negotiations, but you can't really access the negotiations as a company. We saw so many countries, organizations, companies who were there and talked about our solutions, talked about collaboration. We can do this, and we have a lot of solutions already now, both in sectors that is easy to abate, or as I talked about, digitalization that we can abate now, but also in sectors that is hard to abate. We see more carbon capture and storage solutions and other that wasn't on the agenda level of ambition. But now I think, as many of you know, Glasgow Climate Pact wasn't always to I would say a positive ending. There were some changes, and I think for all of us who have been following climate policy for a long time, we weren't surprised. I wasn't. So I was actually more surprised over that they actually included fossil fuel subsidies writing in the climate pact, that they said they're going to phase out coal. Like, I would have never thought that they would write that into an agreement. So I think even though we can be a bit disappointed, we want to see more, it's still, we have an agreement there. We have targets there. Now it's just, how can we accelerate that? It's not like, we saw some writings about India trying to push back a part of the agreement, but they do have a net zero agreement. And I think we can then show them. And also our CEO have said that companies need to go black now and support this, like saying we can do this. And I think Scania is doing that all over the world. And especially, I'm involved in Sweden, and we work a lot with Scania here, and having this large player saying that we can do this. Like,
yes,
this is amazing. I think the politicians get that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good, because we need hope in order to pursue actions, right? So it's a good news that you're given. I can just imagine being such a conference. I wish one day I can be present and participate as you have done, Emily. And since we are talking about, also we are talking direct with Brazilians, we have a question from our audience for you on regards of 5G. We are here right now 5G is about to become reality here in Brazil. There's lots of analysis that demonstrate that this kind of connectivity will help not only the reduction of emissions, but all the sustainability environment. What can you say about 5G? Is it really crucial to boost sustainability initiatives? How you have following this 5G implementation? Since you have talked about infrastructure important and the governmental dialogue, what can you tell us about the 5G experience, Emily?
Yeah, I think here it's a good question. I think 5G is crucial because not only because of the latency, because also about how easy it is to deploy. Not easy, of course, but it's faster and cheaper to deploy than, for example, other broadband solutions like fiber. You are in Brazil and even in Sweden, who are a much smaller country, it's quite long. You can't have fiber everywhere because it will be so expensive to drive it. So then you need the connectivity solution just to get access. And then 5G give that specific latency and high speed that we are going to need to accelerate climate action. I think we have digital connectivity. We can do a lot already now, but 5G can, for example, do that is a bit better. For example, it can, in grid solutions where we see a lot of, we want to have a lot of renewable energy sources coming into the grid, but it's also creating a really unstable grid. So you need something that is fast, and that digitalization can drive and get that grid to be stabilized because you have a lot of different inputs. And then 5G, we did a MIT study, and then one of the professors said that 5G are a clear enable for the 4Ds. So they talk about decentralization, decarbonization, and digitalization and democratization. So through 5G and digitalization, we can, for example, democratize the network through 5G. You can access it more easily through the digitalization because you have 5G that has this high frequency. Then you can have the small scale producer of the grid, for example, having solar panel on the roofs, getting payment as they want to, and be more decentralized in the system. So you can create this grid that is better, and we can actually maybe drive up the renewable energy provision of the network as well. And you have it as well with Scania. We can have truck platooning with 5G because it's it's more reliable. So the trucks can platoon by each other, so meaning going, next to each other. And with 5G, you can do that and be more efficient. And then you can talk about automatization and using what's it called, batteries instead of electric trucks, instead of anything else. So I think we can do a lot, and there is only one. We have 5G in the ports industry as well, where you can automate a bit.
As you were saying, I mean, 5G, if I got the message, is an enabler for better connectivity and to implementation of this 4D concept that I really enjoyed. Very nice. I think our audience also is really enjoying your speech, your talk here, Emily. And we have a comment, right, from the audience, Juliana.
We have a lot of comments. I'll read this in Portuguese and you have this translation there, okay, Emily? But we have some colleagues from Scania that are connected with us and some people from different audience, so thank you. And we have, for instance, Alexandre Bailão disse, digitalização e sustentabilidade.
Digitalization and sustainability go hand in hand. Paulo Carvalho has commented that we are digitalizing our moving equipments of platforms, and this is very good. And Bruno Montanheiro has found it excellent to know the initiatives of other companies besides Scania and what are they doing for a more sustainable future. And he congratulates us for the event. Thank you very much. And please follow us and send your comments because we have a great pleasure to talk to you.
We have one question for you before we just had a survey here with our audience, and asking them what habits, what kind of behavior they have changed after the COVID when it comes to digitalization. So I'd like to ask you, have you changed anything in your life that you didn't used to do before and now you do it since digitalization is so much easier now?
I think that's a really great question. I think I have more Teams meeting. Didn't have
Yes,
that
we
before.
do too,
No,
yes.
no, I think, and this is once again, I think reducing the commuting travel patterns and also work travels through having digitalization and these platforms. We're using Zoom today, we have Teams, another platform. I think that that can do a lot, both for internal well-being, to not always stress. I think we usually grow up with our family stressing everywhere, and I think we need to think about our well-being as well in all this, and through these platforms we can actually reduce our emissions. In Ericsson, we actually reduced our business travel emission by 85% between 2019 and 2020. Yeah. So we have been able to do that, but still I think the employee well-being have been better. Then of course the pandemic have increased decreased the well-being in other areas. So I think without that, it would have been good. Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing. We just commented that we also have changes in some changes in our lives related to digitalization. Thank you so much, Emily, for your participation. Thank you. See you.
Thank you. Bye.
So, now, vamos voltar para o português. Agora a Emily falou, a gente
Portuguese. Emily has spoken to us about what we have changed in our lives. Now we want to know from you. After all, we send you a challenge. What new habits in the pandemic has become a part of your routine? Let's see the results. What our audience, before the results, we have a comment by Alexandre. Watch the lives from Scania has become a new habit. Thank you so much. And all of you who follow us, because we love to do different events. Yes. And with the participation from you. If you could, we wanted to have you all here, but thank you very much. As Emily has commented, in Scania, we have changed our way of working to adapt, and we have learned to live with this new digital world. Let's see the results. So if you voted, let's see. Okay, let's take a look. Wow, all of the above. Oh, shopping online. But please make it with a conscience, make it consciously. Thank you so much. And people are studying a lot. Wow, distance learning has been very mentioned here. Okay, so we're going to call our next guest. It's time to call our guest, Rafael Sijon. He is responsible for the Move Latam, which englobes the storage, transportation, and economy in the logistic chain of PepsiCo. It's the second largest company for drink and food. The company has recently announced PepsiCo Positive. It's an initiative on sustainability that to create value. The program aims to change the way PepsiCo works with its operation, from the obtaining of raw materials and products, always in a more sustainable way. This is the great awareness that we have been producing here. Part of the challenge is in logistics, as other companies have this problem. And Rafael will tell us this story, how PepsiCo is working to increase this and improve this. Is Rafa with us? Hello. Hello. Good morning, Rafa. Oh, you have a good vibe. Good morning. It's a great pleasure to have you here. We have left Sweden, Stockholm, and now we're here from Brazil. We are learning a lot about PepsiCo And the first question that I have for you, as a committed company with the science-based targets initiative as Scania and Ericsson, and among its goals is to reduce indirect emissions by 40% by 2030. I would like to understand how big is this challenge to reach the scope 3 goal to reduce the emissions that are in the hands of third parties. So we have seen that this has been the biggest challenge of companies. And how has digitalization contributed to this? So this is a double question. It's a combo. How is to this challenge to reach the scope 3 goal? It goes hand to hand with digitalization. Oh, wonderful. First, I would like to thank you, Patricia, for the invitation, the partnership that we have with Scania. This is really touching for me, especially in the last months that we have built this stronger partnership with exchange with Sweden, with Latin America. So it's a pleasure to be here sharing our agenda. To answer your question, besides scope 3, which is a commitment that we have signed in Paris, scope 1 and 2, because we have our factories, we have our own our own trucks and also we are going to start using biomethane, hydrogen, and electric trucks to reach scope 3. Looking at the universe of our transport companies, it's the word is partnership. We have to understand really well the role of our transporters. We have to understand the whole ecosystem that they're part of. As an industry, and by the fact that we have a freight, we have to understand better this. So we have to understand the work of the future. So we are in this journey of working even closer to our transporters. They belong to our ecosystem. We have implemented about 3 years ago a transportation control tower where we have, through digitalization, we have approached them, we have reduced paper, we have improved the relationship with the transporters, with the carriers through a control area. So we have empowered them with a cell phone, and they have used a cell phone for our own carriers. They use to communicate about deliveries. So I would say that this digitalization is not a wish. And I understand that the power of transformation, it's based on 3 great pillars. The transformation, it starts with the support, this push from us executives, from fomenters of digitalization, but 2 other aspects are the adoption and empowerment. An app, a digital action, it's only very successful if we can touch the heart of people who are using them. We use Uber, Waze, LinkedIn, Tinder, because they feel they are benefited from it. And this has happened with our transporters, with our collaborators. So this is the secret that I say it's a process, technology, and people. We have processes that are supported by technology. Any operation in this mantra, we lose our essence. So we have to look, collaborate, the digitalization, we have to look them in an exponential way. They are reducing costs. And as in a company, we have to use them, and we have to make even more people to use, and we have to make the use even more massive and simple. This cannot be complicated. If it is, we are making mistakes. We have to go back and we have to start over. It has to be simple. A lot of people have faced digitalization with us. They are scared of digitalization. So we have to be efficient in the digitalization. Can you tell us more about the size of the operation here in Brazil? Why are you talking about this engaging in Brazil with the transporters? I think it's very interesting when you say that you do your own transportation in some routes. So you have to understand, so apply the remedy to that. What is the size of your operation?
I have to mention, I am the Latin America person in charge, Mexico, Peru. My friends from Argentina, I have to say, hola, buenos dias. I have to say, we have 15 countries. I will talk about the LATAM aspect, our operations, the number of trips within our networks, serving our customers, big customers, the retailers, the neighborhood store. We have the self sale. We do with our sellers. During COVID, they were at the front. They didn't leave our customers behind. For having an idea, Brazil and Mexico currently represent 600,000 trips a year. So can you imagine, multiplied by the number of kilometers, liters of diesel mainly consumed, and the CO2 impact. It's such an important operation, and a frenetic operation aiming to distribute smiles, because our products, and I have many of here, Doritos, Lay's, Pepsi Black, but if we comment about this, the desire, and in our point of sale, when the product arrives, to supply the RAC, the shelf, is the importance of logistics in a sustainable way, trying to arrive in time and in a complete way. Our responsibility we have of serving this up and running chain. Great, Rafa. Now that you got your Doritos, I will change the matter, because you have an important role with a great impact promoting the recycling of its packaging. And we'll talk about this along the week. But for you right now, in this work you are doing, digitalization helps you. What's the concept of recycling inside PepsiCo? Digitalization and technology, they migrated. You used to say, I need technology. Nice to have. Now it's structural. It cannot be dissociated from the process we are executing in our daily routine. And recycling is vital to assure control and performance, to know where the material is for the correct application. Can you imagine the entire return chain? We'll talk about this later, but the issue of a cardboard, my product, and many of you may do the question. There's an interesting video on YouTube in Argentina about the presence of air in the packaging. It was an interesting challenge. We got the audience and it showed our product without the air injection. Our lace was arriving crushed. We can transport this to assure we inject the air to assure the quality of the product. But can you imagine being able to monitor the entire consumption, the material generation we have in our plants and distribution centers? Zero landfill, not generating material to landfill. Can you imagine how technology, data, synchronization is the key to connect? I used to say this, and it will change really fast. Reverse logistics was the ugly part. What is beautiful is delivering the finished product, the beautiful truck of Scania, our product, but the return, and assuring, guaranteeing the product that came from post-consumption, the ripped cardboard. And currently, it's not an issue of desire. Sustainability is in our DNA. The screen, the back of my screen, you can see this. We are investing a lot in creating processes strengthened and supported by technology. Technology has to help us to take action. Another impact sentence I want to say, data without action is curiosity. It's a gossip magazine. It's just enter there and see, oh, that's so nice. I have data. We have to use them. Maybe they are not so accurate, but they will help us to retrofeed, correct them. But we have to have action. Data without action is curiosity. Did you write this down? This is the key for success. Great, Rafa. So do we have any comments from the chat? Yes, they are sending a lot of comments, and people from your team as well, Rafa. Vinicius Gomes said he's really proud of being part of PepsiCo transportation team. Viviane said sustainable talks is a class a day. Every day we learn with our guests. And we have a question. Who brought this was Fabrícia Moraes. She wants to know if reverse logistics of inputs is still a challenge for many sectors, and how are you dealing with this in your sector? About Vinicius, he's a great partner, and the other ones, we're putting the vehicles fatigue cameras. Our concern with the people is something we do not argue about this. We have fatigue cameras. We are working on the behavior issue. Can you imagine? The adoption and empowerment is vital. We explained why we have the camera, and the adoption was a huge one, and they are contributing a lot. And good things happen from this. The camera is not only happening with fatigue, but with deep breaks. For example, we could say that through telemetrics, but we can see the why because we have the camera in the front of the vehicle. We can see that maybe it was a different vehicle that break, or we are working with our collaborators, drivers, to work on this matter. It's a cultural issue. How can we create the best work environment each time more sustainable? And to answer the question, currently, to me, the business models are integrated. We are in this path, and we will deliver the next year an inbound control tower. We want to make this integration with the return of reverse logistics. And today, we cannot dissociate these things. The key word is integration of information, processes, and the work with our suppliers, understanding they are part of an end-to-end. And this is not ending, it's a cyclic thing. And understanding another challenge is the use of returnable packaging in our beverage business, food business. Each time more, we need to accelerate, change our behavior as human beings in the world. We learned in the pandemic, the world, we are renting this world, and we have to take care of it, of the world we are inhabiting. Not only thinking about sustainability is something cool, no, it's part of our day. When we are walking through our warehouses, if you see a paper on the floor, in the streets, if you see a paper on the floor, will you do a report, or will you just get the paper, put in the trash can? That's the behavior. Oh, let's clap our hands because that's the case. You said a lot since the beginning about people, and it was something to me. We commented on the Tech Week this year. What is technology? It's about people. Through it, we are following with our lives. And it said two interesting things to remember: the importance of adopting empowerment, respect as well. And about the impact on people, I would like you to comment a little bit on this project about changing snack packaging in soccer fields. Can you tell me about that? We want to inspire a crowd right now. It's wonderful. It's called Lace Replay. I don't know if you can see this. The BLPP of the Lace barbecue that you consume, this flexible film we can recover. I ask you, do not throw away. You can recycle it, and further ahead you see we'll put some mechanism of returning this BLPP, this flexible film. You can always discharge in the red boxes and the red trash cans. I have here my table. That's here. It seems you have everything on your table. This is what becomes, after processed, will generate these pellets, and it will be turned into microspheres. And with lace replay, we could do this in a partnership. We used to say the collectors, I call them now recycling agents, communities. Can you see? We can look to the chain as a whole with the ESG. We could find the supplier in soccer fields, not only Brazil, but in Turkey, Africa. Some communities, Lace, our brand associated to soccer, the Champions League, for creating soccer fields which have as input to sustain the synthetic grass made of BOPP and other uses. We are accelerating with the pallets and other partners to create it more, the theme of the returnable packaging, creating this cycle that it's a life cycle. It's a virtual cycle and wonderful cycle, I would say. You're talking about people and partnerships, and we did not agree on that. You're talking about everything, talking about a circular economy. We'll call you to be here in the study with us to make things easier for us. I think Bruno Montanheiro is following. We have ideas of what more we can change inside our factory because we are acting a lot on this. Also, it's always good hearing from you and having new ideas. From this moment, we're going to the next part of Sustainable Talks. And with that, we'll have a small break first. We were straight up to here talking to everyone. We stop a little bit, have a little break, but you have to come back because soon we'll have super gas. We'll change the key, turn on the Spanish, and you cannot miss it. Please, 6 minutes, and we'll be back with you here in Sustainable Talks. Thank you.
Hoy día me encuentro acá con mucha alegría participando de lo que es Transportando Calor. Soy Juan Eduardo Hidalgo, gerente de ventas de camiones en Lima para Scania del Perú. Transportando Calor es un programa que nace en el 2016 basado en nuestro pilar de sustentabilidad. Nos permite, en alianza con otras empresas sustentables, llevar ayuda de la mejor manera a comunidades altoandinas de nuestro país. Vengo con mucha ilusión de poder llevar un poco de alegría a personas que con algo simple que nosotros podemos hacer nos va a permitir ser consecuentes con lo que buscamos.
Para mí participar de este programa es algo como un sueño cumplido. Mi nombre es Luis Vidal, yo vengo trabajando en Scania del Perú en la región sur. En Scania, en la sucursal, tenemos como vocación servir, ayudar. Siento que esto es parte de mi trabajo.
Ya son más de 2.500 niños que han recibido Transportando Calor, las casacas que con mucho cariño traemos hacia las personas que viven en las heladas del Ande del Perú y donde nosotros realmente ponemos nuestros valores como compañía en las manos de estos niños.
Mi nombre es Juan Casnac, soy cofundador de JOSEC, un emprendimiento socioambiental que fundamos mis hermanos y yo. En el 2016, Scania nos abrió las puertas para sentarnos a diseñar un proyecto. Así nació Transportando Calor. Ya venimos juntos llevando bastante abrigo a comunidades altoandinas. En este viaje estamos abrigando alrededor de 767 niños en varias comunidades en toda la cuenca de Ollantaytambo.
No minanse, picani, no kayachani niño Melchorpe, picani, no kakaita munani profesora, irkimasita y achichinaipa. Chiyaqtaypay, nishuta chirin, paran, chikchin. Fakari yache wasipi kasakutaraykiwanqaku. nuqa suyashani kusisqa q'uñi kaqtin.
La llegada ha sido súper emocionante. Entrar por la puerta principal de la escuelita y ver a todos los niños que nos esperaban, como que dice, oye, está llegando, está llegando. Es como cuando uno amanece y ves el sol, ves al amanecer y dices, ya estamos de día.
Hemos venido a Huillo a entregarle 400 casacas a 400 niños, a encontrarnos con la gente de Josec, saber que entre todos juntos veníamos con la idea de colaborar, de darle ese amor, cariño, que se transforme en esta casaca que tan representativamente se las hemos entregado hoy día a los chicos.
Me gusta mi casaca porque es muy color. Kunanqa churakusaq kasakuwan.
Hoy día he tenido una experiencia maravillosa. Hoy día he podido darle un poco de calor a niños que lo necesitan. Te agradecen, pero realmente que termina estando agradecido eres tú. Sientes que es uno de esos días que nunca vas a olvidar en tu vida.
Transportando calor no es solo un abrigo. Es la sensación, la alegría y la sonrisa de los niños.
Como Scania Brasil, falamos em sustentabilidade há muito tempo. Sempre buscamos a evolução e colocamos o discurso em prática ao entregar soluções que contribuem de fato para menores emissões de CO2, mantendo a rentabilidade para os nossos clientes. O carro-chefe dessa equação é o caminhão a gás, por ser a solução de combustível alternativo mais viável economicamente e disponível em recursos. Mas mesmo nossa linha convencional, lançada em 2018, a nova geração de caminhões, com sua tecnologia já emite menos CO2 quando comparada com seus concorrentes. Hoje, possuímos inúmeras parcerias que comprovam os benefícios das nossas soluções que estão em linha com o nosso propósito de transformação por meio da sustentabilidade. Parceiros como RN Logística, Jomed e Transmarone foram pioneiros em aderir a esse movimento em 2019 e seguem em constante evolução com a ajuda do nosso caminhão a gás. Outros clientes aderiram e já superamos a marca de 400 veículos, o que mostra a crescente demanda por soluções que sejam rentáveis e ainda assim atendam a agenda sustentável. O interesse também existe em relação aos ônibus. A parceria entre Scania, Gerdau, Turisilva e Marco Polo marcou a história ao apresentar o primeiro ônibus rodoviário do Brasil movido a gás natural veicular e ou biometano para o fretamento. Vemos um claro movimento do mercado de transportes em geral em relação à sustentabilidade. E a Scania está apta para atender essas demandas e metas de nossos clientes e da sociedade. Mas nosso trabalho não é apenas em relação às nossas soluções. Há ações que fazemos em toda a Scania e rede de concessionários para reduzir nossa pegada ambiental, sendo a SOS Mata Atlântica a mais expressiva delas. A Scania continuará firme no propósito de transformar o mundo dos transportes de forma que seja bom para o planeta, para as pessoas e para os negócios.
Bem-vindos de volta aqui ao segundo bloco do Sustainable Talks. E a gente
Welcome back to and a very beautiful project that we have for some years with partnership with Hosek, and we're going to invite them soon. Okay, so let's go to our second part and let's talk about our technological revolution in the world. The digitalization has made it possible an exponential access to data, and the use of these data intelligently has been a powerful business transformation tool. Technology allows you to predict situations, manage risks, and drive business models. To talk about this theme from the point of view of those who support other companies to turn this game, we're going to talk with the CEO of Smart Vision, a consulting company specialized in innovation and digital transformation, Inácio Uranga. And to bring the perspective of those who feel the influence of digitalization in the business, we're going to count with the participation of Juan Carlos Snack, which is the CEO of Joseg, the first collaborative Peruvian clothing brand, which as they donate every time you buy coat, they donate one to improve the quality of children living in socially vulnerable situation in the Andes region in Peru. So let's see if our guests are here. We're going to go to Argentina and Peru. Let's see if they are here with us. Good morning, Inácio. Now we're going to change our key. He speaks Portuguese very well. He had some kids in Brazil, but we said we're going to speak with him in Spanish. Good morning, Inácio, and welcome to Sustainable Talks. Thank you. Okay, so let's see. Inácio, I would like to know, Smart Vision is the and
apoyar en el proceso de toma de decisiones.
Bueno, a ver,
follow
primero
the process of digitalization.
En esta conferencia que tanto éxito tiene y que tantos
In this conference, it's a pleasure to be here, and where a lot of people are with us from Latin America. It's a very important question, and it had everything that has to do with digital transformation. When we go from an analogical system to a binary, we have to a digital one. It has many benefits. It helps in the process of making decisions, because the processing of information is much more easier to do in the different ways if we cross the variables. So when the system is binary digital instead of analogical. So we have all of this information that are very complex to share and to process them. So I'm not talking about only in terms of forms. We have to understand each one of these questions, each one of the answers. And when we change for digital format, we have the opportunity to cross the variables and the information. When I talk about giant companies and cities, we talk about a lot of variables. And the processing of this information shows that some things would be impossible to do it
de digitalización tiene
from the analogical point of view. There are a lot of things that help us with the process of making decisions. Without a question, to move from the analogical process to digital, it accelerates everything. And we know that experience that you have from, of course, including Scania, has been very revolutionary for this transformation. And now I would like to listen from you, Inácio. Smart Vision is the only consultancy company that is capacitated in the Latin America, which is certified in Latin America. It has a theory that talks about the 6 steps of the organization. Can you explain more about this concept about the 6D? The 6D theory
el ciclo de transformación
is from the Singularity University and talks about the transformation cycle. And it basically talks about the 6D, and eventually they talk in English. We're going to say about digitalization, about periods, about deceptive, disruptive, demonetize, dematerialize, and democratize, which is the democratization period. Basically, when we analyze by cycles, we have the stage of digitalization that we have talked before, a format which is analogic and it goes to digital. And this process in this chain, and we also have a period which is called deceptive, which is a more deceptive period, like the name says, where we transform the growth, and it's not an instantaneous one. And this growth starts in a very difficult way, which we call deceptive. And then we have a disruption moment, when it shows a growth. This is the third step. And then we have this monetization. With this growth, it starts to make the costs lower. And we have the dismonetization, because they are expensive in the beginning, but then they get cheaper. We can see a slide which is explaining each one of the 6 steps. And the last one is dematerialization. How are these technologies are working in the same place? This is to make it more transparent, this process. So we have a little bit of everything, a map, the possibility of speaking through the phone, a camera, a video camera. So we have these different technologies that converge, and they are called the dematerialization period. And the last one, it has to deal with democratization. The democratization is when all of these has been done. So we have these technologies that can be accessed in any place of the world at the same time. So this would be impossible to happen in an analogical format. This is a transformation cycle, technological transformation cycle. So we have digitalization, deception. So we have disruption, dismonetization when the costs get lower, the dematerialization, where we have the convergence of this technology, and which is more important to everyone is the democratization, where all these technologies can get to different points of the planet, and it's very fast and they're very adopted by everyone. So this is basically a summary of the 6D of the technological cycle of Peter. This is very interesting, this technology. And as you explained, I am thinking that the companies that start the digital transformation, some of them are very tired or they don't have the motivation and to continue. It's not very easy to go from one point to another. You have to be really very resilient. Yes. What happens is I really like to relate this to our daily lives. For example, when you get pregnant, in the 4th month, we don't say, oh, I'm not going to stop. I'm going to continue. I'm going to stop here. So the body changes, the mind changes. And this is the same thing with the digital transformation of an organization. With an analogical process to a digital process, we have to incorporate, and this takes time. We have to take some time to get used to it. And it's important to understand that this takes a while, just like when we're building a house. We start to work with this in a more mature way, and we have to understand all the periods. So I'm going to talk about, in general terms, this is not very different. We have a moment that is very difficult. We have moments of doubt, but this is a transformation that needs to have a plan before it happens. Before we build a house, we call the architect to show the project. And then we look at the project initially, and it's the same thing when it comes to a transformation in an organization or for a city, for example, we need to have a forecast of what's going to happen. How are we going to overcome the challenges? I have 14 years of experience in the transformation process for organizations in the public sector, in the strategic part, and it's impossible to face this process without a planning of how this is going to happen. Very good. Thank you so much for your explanation. I really liked your comparison with pregnancy. So how do you know, how can the digitalization can support the reaching the 17 SDGs, and how can we help the sustainability of the planet? I believe that the planet has a lot of doubts, and because of all that is happening, I think there is an abundance theory if we look to the planet as a whole. The overpopulation in the planet. It's a planet that has been contaminated highly. Cities with a very heavy traffic that generate a lot of pollutants to the planet. We have a lot of hunger in the planet as well. We have a very great demand of protein in the planet, and the planet has a lot of difficulty to supply that. We have many doubts in many aspects, but technology, we agree that technology came to collaborate to this. When we look at the United Nations, the SDGs for the United Nations, when we analyze them, technology has a fundamental role to revert the global trend. And then we can speak about the abundance theory by Peter Diamandis. All of the great challenges of the earth. For example, we can change clean water into not so clean water into clean water, and it's also revolutionizing the matter of energy. Technology can fight hunger, because I said before, we need a lot of protein in the world. So with biotechnology, we are overcoming many challenges. The proteins that are created in laboratories are already being commercialized in supermarkets in the US. It's a meat that is made in the laboratory, and it's been commercialized in America. For example, if you think about a cow, the lifespan of a cow is very short, and this technology of making a laboratory meat can only be done with technology. So this can change the way of animal protein as we know it. And we also can talk about vehicles, like electric vehicles, how they can contribute to fight the pollutants in the country and in the world, sorry. In Netherlands, we are developing houses through 3D printing. So without a question, technology with the theory of abundance is one of the perspectives and pillars that we are seeing for the future to overcome the challenges that Earth has. And most of them are dealing with the SDGs, of course. This is excellent, because with technology, we have a lot of opportunities. This is very good, Inácio. I'm gonna have you waiting a little bit, because we're gonna call our guest from Peru. We're going to travel to Peru. So, and then we continue with you, okay? I would like to talk to Juan Carlos. snack because he's in Peru right now. Good morning. Can you hear me? Hi. Yes, I can hear you very well. Carlos, we have watched the video that was very touching, and we want to know more about you and about the social project to protect children from the cold. And this is expanding to other places as well. And we're talking about data, the data generated from digitalization of the companies. So tell me, how is your journey is coming along? Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here, to be close to people that are so wonderful and make wonderful things. Our company is a small company, and it has started as a simple idea because that me and our brothers had to use technology to be agents of change. And because we live in a country like Peru, with a lot of inequality, even in our region, to acknowledge that we are very lucky and we are trying to do different things and do something. And we came to a moment in our lives where we try to help the quality of life of people. And with this idea, for us, it was a simple idea at that moment. We decided to include as the pillar of our company the sustainability, because I am an architect, my brother is an engineer, another one works with communications, but we didn't work at this, and this is a project that generates impact. But this has become something important for us. And very quickly in this company, the pandemic came. And this pandemic evidently has made us go digital. When we did that before, but we had to do this for our daily lives, and the process so far hasn't been easy. And to be an entrepreneur in Latin America, we have many difficulties.
Como remar en dulce de leche, ¿no? Es dulce, pero dulce.
And my brother said that it's like to swim in a dulce de leche. It's a very interesting process with this digitalization. It was obligatory. Otherwise, we couldn't do that for our channels. And the fact that we could obtain more data to know more about the consumer, which I believe is the key to success. Then they get the logos of the apps, of the brands, and besides that, they want proofs. So it's very interesting, this process of information, and it could be more assertive. We have to make mistakes so we can correct them more.
You made a mistake, you corrected, and now you have more information. You said one of the interesting information this digit moment is finding out the women are behind some of the purchases. And you said they are the managers of change, the change in the consumption habit, especially when they become mothers. How do you get to this conclusion with the help of digitalization? Great. Cosec is a young company, but it impacts a lot. We needed to assess, not only because of the product, but the impact generated. And of course, everything we generate has a negative impact. We're not be crazy and say, I'm thinking about the premise, we have to be in charge, it's a small company. If, as we've seen, the platforms and the programs we had available, we started to collect data, and there was a study, a goals study from the data that generating a target to determine the consume information. And it was established that the target was working with women, mainly if they were mothers, because the women gave their lives and they take care of other lives. And as men, we can make all the efforts of the world to understand it, but it's hard. And all this change management, change of consumption habits come from women. It was this way at my home. My wife stopped consuming plastic, started to recycle in an active way. She turned herself into an activist in our community to manage our residues, our waste. And with this information we got, we agree, we matched this with some information and data we've been collected, and we are a brand founded by men. It's a unisexual. It's that there's a king. It's more inclined to towards men. It's more consumed by men. And we need to improve this number. But most of the purchases were women buying for their husbands, fathers, boyfriends, and what the pandemic helped us. And it was lucky having a break to reflect on that. And it end up changing through process our communication. So we can drive what we're telling to our public, that we understand who are these women that purchase, the men that use it, with a more activist look, taking more actions and reaching other people, not only women, but obviously that we can help other people as well. So stop approaching the country as it was an object. Stop thinking we are the owners of the planet, and treating the planet as a subject, as an individual. With the dishes we've brought, we have to fix them. So the planet is the place where we live, and we want to leave something for the next generations. Also looking to our homes. That's great, generating changes. The planet's not an object, but an individual. That's a good sentence to say. I will ask the production to put our two guests on screen, Ignacio from Argentina and Juanca from Peru to talk. I have a question for you both. We are talking about this conscious consumption scheme. And starting with Ignacio, how do you think digitalization decrease social inequalities? I'm sorry, Ignacio, we cannot hear you. I'm sorry. It's interesting, your question. It's a kind of complex at the same time. It's not only through digitalization, where technology and digitalization has a key role, is when analyzing our models, taking time as a species, analyzing what is happening to us in terms of democracy, taking care of the planet. And with that, we are not going too well because many models are obsolete, they are archaic, and democracy has characteristics similar to when it was instituted in Greece centuries ago. Humanity now is asking for a different thing. And as well as we are occupying planet Earth in an exponential way, this speed has changed even more through technology and globalization. It's important to read the changes, understand them, and as we are understanding them and changing them, we will reach a different model that possibly will be a more equitable model. Technology give us the change opportunities, interesting changes in some previous conversations. And inside the company, we talked about what is happening with blockchain and technology that to me, it's something amazing. It's the most appreciated technology because it has interesting characteristics. And among them, the capacity of producing the richness it has. And at the same time, how this technology allows this technology to be transmitted in a more equitable way. Currently, we are in a more concentrated model. The financial model is more focused on the bank. Educational model is concentrated in schools. New business models are concentrated as well.
La descentralización,
And this, in different models of life, we need to see these models in a more decentralized way. Decentralization will help us to work in efficient models and proper models through the decentralization. The democratic model is concentrated, a president defining for everyone something, a legislative power and the judicial power making decisions. These are models. I know this is a disruptive look and a complex one, and in a challenge way, these models are the ones we need to change to stop inequalities. So democratization and decentralization, that's really interesting regarding the concept you said previously on singularities. We have some comments.
Érico Casula, que perguntou aqui, como democratizar a digitalização e fazê-la acessível?
Democratize digitalization. We have just hear about this. This day of democratization will be in our minds today. And we have a comment from our audience. It's really important to know that, in fact, companies are looking to the new realities. Of course, technology, digitalization is an access, a facilitator, but it's also, we have issues. We have questions that we cannot leave nobody behind in this journey. We have questions and our guests are answering them. Now it's on you. Let's again in Spanish, Juanca, about digitalization, how this can decrease social inequalities. Again, to start, when my brothers and me, we start to take an entrepreneurship, creating an NGO, because we believe in the business force. And the companies not only should generate jobs and pay taxes, we should also help people to make better decisions. That's a role that us as entrepreneurs should take. And there's a Russian saying that says that if we're always sweeping the sidewalk in our house, we would always have a clean city. That's it. As entrepreneurs, it's hard because we are a business, a small company. When we started, I learned quickly about the huge capacity companies to generate changes. How it's important, the collaboration, independence, that it's a key. By ourselves, we cannot generate changes. And nowadays, to be successful, it's important to understand the customer. And as more data, better. One of the fights we have as entrepreneurs is looking the democratization of sustainability from our space, because many times we are offering a sustainable product with less negative impact as possible. And it used to be the one that is more expensive. There's a confusion between values and price of things because that's a short-term mentality. And it's affecting mainly Latin America. We need to project ourselves a little more for what is coming after and understanding we are living in a world, a decentralized world, and a globalized world, in fact. We were hearing some partners, our colleague talking about Sweden and the other one from Peru and Argentina, and only working collaboratively, we were able to decrease the inequalities. We know currently companies are not only thinking about the product, but on the impact it generates. A clear example is transporting values. We started as a B2C brand, but then B2B seemed important as well. And something that maybe I would take a year to solve, we solved in one program in a 20-minute meeting talking to Scania Peru. This is a clear example on how we can advance and how technology can help us to understand not only what customer needs, but the beneficiary. And I think like this, with data, we'll have more efficiency. For us in Peru, cold is a problem, mainly here in the Andes area. And we always think that sending blankets was the solution. And I spent some years, and the blankets became mattresses because they have received so many. They don't use much. They have to leave. They have to use other things. Obviously, we are not solving any problem. It's just a palliative helping to improve life quality. But technology can help us to understand the vulnerability they are exposed. They are exposed to extreme climates, not only about shelter, it's about lack of communication, access to digitalization. These are process that technology guided, they can be developed. A project to warm schools, because obviously when you are studying and it's cold, it's hard to learn. So in collaboration, because by ourselves, we're not able, obviously, and with technology, we can do it. We can reach better results, thinking on the impact it may generate.
I liked a lot what you said about this. So thank you so much for being here with us. And we are we almost think about a better word. Oh, it's a shame. We have a limited time, but we really thank you for your presence here in this morning with us. And we're going to continue here. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, very good. So now we went to Sweden this morning. Then we had Brazil, very well represented with PepsiCo. And now we talked to Ignacio and Juanca from Argentina and Peru. And now we're going to Colombia, a very nice country, and we want to know what they have been doing there to accelerate technology and digital transformation. To talk about the challenges that Colombia faces, we call Guilherme Santos Calderon. He is a columnist from the newspaper El Tiempo, and he self-calls him as an observer of new habits of society influenced by technology. So he can answer our survey today. We have a question for him. He isn't even here yet. So let's go to Colombia. This is awesome, right? So we have a signal. We have it's like magic. Good morning, Guillermo. Can you hear me? Yes. Good morning. Welcome to Sustainable Talks. Guilherme, we have been talking to many guests to know more about what their companies are doing, but we are talking to you to talk about the concept of country. It's Colombia. It's a trend company. It's a trend country, and we would like to know more from Bogota because they have similar problems to what we face here in Brazil. For example, traffic, heavy traffic, social inequality. So what are you doing to foment the model of an intelligent city? To be an intelligent city is fundamental to have 5G. The 5G is necessary for Internet of Things. Otherwise, we can't connect ourselves. And this is an observation for the operators, and it's in the website of the Ministry of Communications. But we have had intelligent signals for the traffic, and we have cameras that are connected for security. So we can have this in the city. I don't know if you know this, but the cameras, they recognize the face. Actually, they digitally reproduce the faces, and then the cameras recognize this, and they see through infrared. And then in a block, the police can make the right decisions for that case. And we also have electric buses in the city. And the good news is that Colombia is the largest market for digital buses. Actually, buses that are run by gas, and they're integrated into the transportation of Bogota. And I was reading some news in a newspaper. And I want to congratulate Scania for that, because I know that you have been using this type of model already. Another thing that we see, and it's something different to help us take decisions and helps the sustainability of the city of Bogota, is that the state has published the data from the state, so the companies can access them and make their apps more useful, and then they can make better decisions with that. So this is going to help so the apps can be more intelligent. And this way, they can reach new conclusions, and they can help Bogota to be a more sustainable city. In Bogota, we also have a lot of virtual work thanks to the pandemics. I know companies that about 70% of their employees are going to start working 100% virtually, digitally. And this helps that the pollution from the vehicles can be minimized, can be much lower. In the beginning of this year, it was created an initiative called a transportation without smoke, where the pedestrians could take pictures of the vehicles that would release a lot of smoke, and they would send them to the transport superintendency so they could take the right decisions and take the necessary measures regarding to that. Regarding to these vehicles, they could apply penalties or maybe change their routes. And I would like to comment that Bogota, it's a city that has a lot of bicycle routes. They have more bicycle routes in all the world.
Todos los domingos y hay ciclorrutas para ciclas y scooters que están aumentando.
Also, 118 cycle routes are created on Sundays, and they are full. Not just Bogotá, but Cali, and Carreira 11, Calle 26. They are preparing some cycle routes to start with this kind of transportation. It's interesting. You talked about mobility of Bogotá, and without a question, this is a model city for the whole system. We have buses. This is a lab for all countries that want to know more about mobility. And I would like to thank you for comments about Scania. We have a lot of kinds of buses in Bogotá and Medellin, and we have buses that are run by gas, which is an alternative fuel. And we talked about this yesterday at Sustainable Talks with Antonio and Christopher about this theme, which contributes a lot to lower the air pollution in the cities. So it's amazing what you have been doing there.
Sino también muchos camiones.
Yes, we don't have only buses, but we have a lot of trucks. So Emily talked about the need of 5G. We have Alexandre in the comments, and he talked about Internet of Things, and Guillermo has talked to us about the need. It's about this exponential step that 5G was going to give us. And we have a comment about Natalia Piccoli. Digitalization brought the sense of belonging. Now we have to be connected, is to be part of something, and this brings many reflections, is to collaborate with the world. This is very beautiful. We're very inspired. And we are inspired by our guest today. Yes? Yes, Ju? Yes. Is Guillermo here? Can he be here with us? Yes, I'm here with you. I don't think so. I think there is a problem with his link. So we're going to continue. He's going to say goodbye to you all. And then we're going to thank Sweden, Argentina, Brazil, Peru, and Colombia. But there was a problem with his link. Ju, have you been to Colombia? Many times. And a lot. I have been to Cartagena, and I have been following this evolution that Guillermo has mentioned. And like also Bogotá, who's becoming an intelligent city. It's very interesting to see him as an observer of these changes. And Bogotá is an example for all. And São Paulo is also in the path of doing this. Yes, definitely. Well, so let's talk about Colombia for a while. If you don't know Colombia, you can send any comments. And also Guillermo brought us something very interesting about harmony in technology. We know that the future will be eclectic. If you follow us, Scania, you know about this. We have contact with Guillermo. Okay, that's bad. That's a shame. Okay, we have Sustainable Talks. We're gonna say goodbye to Guillermo. He can't join us anymore. So do you have any comments about our guests, Ju? We have hope for a more sustainable future, and this is going to be an enabler. This is going to help us a lot in this transition and this change. So we had Emily talking about the global perspective. She was at COP26, and about the 5G technology, which is very, very revolutionary. And after that, we had Rafa, who brought to us the work of PepsiCo with a lot of innovation, and people that are there with the transporter, and he talked about about the trips, more than 600 trips in Brazil. So this is important to reduce the emissions that are in the scope 3 of SDGs. And then we talked about Inácio a little bit, about how the matter of digitalization is a challenge and how can they have to be very resilient. And he talked about the 6D theory, so we have to research more. So there are a lot about this on the internet. And then Juan talked about the social impact. He comes from a sector that is consumption, fashion, but he created a company with a purpose. So this is a great message for us. We can turn consumption into something that is conscious, that raises awareness to turn the world in a more sustainable world. Yes, it was very deep, a lot of digitalization, a lot of human value. And tomorrow we're going to bring other subjects to this stage, which is the sustainable talks. I would like to end this event today. I would like to thank our collaborators in our Latin American markets who have helped us, contributed to this event, and they have made this discussion so enriching. We are coming to an end, and for those of you who have been following us since the beginnings, the first part and the second part, we want to close with the following, that the sky is the limit. How many of us haven't listened to that sentence or heard this sentence? And without a question, the field of technology, the possibilities are endless. Now, maybe we have to talk that the universe is our limit. From digitalization, we create new forms of consumption, learning, relationships, a new way of work and living. Is slowly or fast, we're adapting to a reality that today can be augmented, a virtual one or a physical one. But with all that power in our hands comes responsibility. The responsibility that our guests have put in so greatly here to drive a safe and inclusive digital transformation. And the same technology that fascinates us proves to be a necessary frontier for us to reach the goals of decarbonization. And it's the only possible future, the sustainable future. So with that, we want to thank you all who join us in the second day of Sustainable Talks. Tomorrow, Thursday, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Brazilian time, we're going to talk to our guests about value chain and circular economy. And our economists today have given us some spoilers, but tomorrow we'll have Electrolux, Abiogás, Cocal, and a representative of the Ministry of Economy. You can't miss it. Don't miss it. We're going to be waiting for you. Yes. So 2 in the afternoon in Brazil, we're going to have the people from the Global Pact in Mexico with us, and we're going to talk about this subject, which is the circular economy, a new trend of sustainability that is here to stay, and also value chain, which is also very important. Who think maybe that we just put the product out there and we don't have a responsibility? No, all the stakeholders look at what companies are doing, who is part of this chain and who helps us so that companies can be developed. So tomorrow we'll be waiting for you. So see you tomorrow and have a great Wednesday. Thank you very much.
Hola a todos, mi nombre es Andrés Lennart, soy el CEO de Scania en Argentina y hace poco tiempo responsable también por las operaciones comerciales de Scania en Américas. Me pidieron que les diga algunas palabras sobre lo que es sustentabilidad para nosotros y voy a ser bastante obvio cuando digo que dentro de Scania hace bastante tiempo, varios años que nos hemos propuesto este lindo desafío de liderar el cambio.
We have proposed this challenge of leader the transformation to a more clean transportation and more friendly with the world. So we know that the system is responsible for 15% of greenhouse gases emissions. And we recognize that in Scania we are part of the problem. So we want to be part of the solution. I know that many of you know that Scania has signed last year an objective based in science, which we defined 3 stages, 1, 2, 3, to know what type of help we could give the world. On one side, we have values 1 and 2 to make our operations in our factories and in our dealerships, what type of emissions we are emitting, and 2 and 3, how much our products, our trucks, our motors are generating greenhouse gas. So we have a goal for 2025. Our emissions will be a reduction of 50% than in 2015. And in this scope 3, the vehicles in 2025 must issue less greenhouse gases, equivalent to what it emitted in 2015. So sustainability is not something about only transportation. Scania is a founder of the Global Pact of United Nations, and we do this globally and in many countries where we operate: Mexico, Argentina, Peru, Brazil. And at Scania, we are trying to support diversity so the world can be more equal. We have more job opportunities to fight poverty up to 2030. And an example that I would like to give you from Argentina that we're very proud of, it's a program for women to certify women in the world of transportation. Is a program called Conductors. It's very important for us in Argentina. This year we are in our third edition. Has employed more than 1,000 women, and we have our first 24 women that are conductors of trucks. And with strategic planning, we're going to have 12 more. So this program, we're very proud of it, that breaks the barriers of gender and treats this sector not as a sector for all, not just for men. We're giving women opportunity in all over the country so they can also perform this profession, which is so dignified and important for Scania. And I would like to send hugs to everyone so you can have a wonderful, sustainable talk. Thank you for listening to us.
I'm Juan Carlos Ocampo. I'm talking from Scania, Colombia. And here we believe sustainability is part of this. Sustainability understood as a vital aspect from the point of view of people's health and economic sustainability. In concrete terms, in Colombia, we have more than 2,100 buses around Bogota's streets, and not only Bogota, the whole country. And it makes us to be the biggest fleet of natural gas of the world. And besides, we started selling for all the regions diesel, 100% diesel trucks. But now we changed our mix of products, and 68% of the trucks we are producing are natural gas fueled. We have this commitment with sustainability in Scania, Colombia. We are back. We need to make a special thanks to our colleagues from Colombia and Argentina, so important general directors from both markets. And we have this whole content. It will be on the YouTube playlist, so you can check on them. And if you missed the first part or you arrived late, you have to leave, you have a playlist available. And we are really proud to know that's a wonderful job being done. So that's it. Thank you again. And we'll be here in Sustainable Talks for the next days. We
global é uma das prioridades de
for reducing emissions.
Thick smoke billowed above Brazil's Amazon jungle.
Is on top of the impacts of
It's a
climate
vital
change.
defense against climate change.
Pollution from burning fossil fuels.